And I'm sure most of you remember what happened in 2020, but let me just touch in a few points. The lockdowns happened, panic hit the market, everybody started selling, prices dropped, and everybody thought would die one day. And then something remarkable happened. People stopped dying, vaccines came up, stimulus packages went out, but still people were under lockdown. What did that do? It made people try to find what to do with their money. You couldn't show your American Express Platinum or Gold anymore. You had to go and spend it from the comfort of your home. So people started investing. And all of a sudden, the stock market went up. People made a lot of money, especially in the crypto space. And naturally, the people that made this money were people interested in tech. So what do people interested in tech buy? EVs. The explosion in EVs was remarkable. Tesla had their best years during the pandemic, or at least after the first 6-7 months. And since that's when they announced the Cybertruck that came up just a few months ago, I start seeing them on the street. It doesn't matter what I think about them. I personally think they're horrible, but that doesn't make them less of an incredible technology. So what's going to happen with the gas-powered cars? Are they going the Dodo way? Are they going to disappear? Well, to answer that, we have to go to a completely different industry, but very closely associated with cars, and that is watches. And I'm only going to touch on to watches, not because they're my passion, but because typically people that care about cars care about watches too. And that's because they're very related, and let me explain. Up to 1969, all watches were mechanical. The best way to keep time was to put some gears together and make it happen, lubricate everything, and hope that it won't get magnetized, you won't drop it, and you would try to keep a sensible time, which at the time was like 30 seconds a day. It would lose or gain, and that was accurate back then for most watches. And then Seiko came up in 1969 and presented the first quartz mass-produced watch. And that was the beginning of what it's called the quartz crisis. A massive amount of watchmakers just disappeared within the next 10 to 20 years. Even watch collectors back then and big companies like Rolex, Omega, they started making quartz watches to fill the demand. It was the thing to do. Everybody fall into what we now know as a trap to make quartz watches. In 1983, though, the Swiss decided to fight back, and they came with the Swatch. The Swatch was a plastic watch, you all know it, with a cheap quartz movement, mass-produced, but it made people take their attention back to Switzerland. They left Japan and they went back to Switzerland. And Swatch was really the savior of the Swiss watch industry as you know it today. All the brands that you know, some of the most important are actually part of the Swatch group, like Omega, Longines, Breguet, incredible watches, mechanical watches, but they're all here today thanks to Swatch, that little plastic watch. But as we know, and I just mentioned, those mechanical watches, like the one I'm wearing on my wrist, didn't really disappear. We all wear them to this day more than before. The watch industry is booming, and the question is why? If you go to the technical aspects of timekeeping, quartz is better in every single way, in every measurement. It has better shock resistance. It's more accurate. Imagine that if you see ever a mechanical watch, there's a balance wheel that goes back and forth. The best watches do that about 36,000 times an hour. A quartz watch does that same thing basically every second. So it has a quartz movement, it has a quartz crystal that the battery that you put in your quartz watches basically gives a little current here. That little quartz fork vibrates, and then the processor counts how many vibrations every 36,000, which is about a second. It gives the order to the hand to move one tick, 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 tick. And this thing happens literally every second. A current goes to that quartz, vibrates, calculates, gives a tick. That's how you see time. It's better in every single way. Nowadays, we have atomic clocks. Casio has cheap watches that are $100 and they keep amazing time. They're connected to atomic clocks around the world. Your phone gets its time from the internet, and the internet in itself takes it from atomic clocks. So we have the most accurate time that can be. Atomic clocks, I think, lose 1 second every few million years because they calculate time by the vibration of atoms. So, mind-blowing. But we still have mechanical watches. Those watches are the expensive ones, not the quartz. You see, the thing with the quartz movement is that it's basically a circuit. So once you create the capacity to make those quartz watches, like a printer, you just print circuits on a board. And it becomes cheaper and faster every day. You can buy a quartz watch, a good quartz watch, like a Casio, for just under $10 today. But those are not the most expensive watches. The most expensive watches are the Rolexes, Omegas, Patek Philippe's, all these ones. And I think that this is what's going to happen with the cars. We are at the early stages of adoption right now. I'm not even going to go into the range issue, battery capacity. All this is going to come to a point where it's going to get good enough. The predictions are by 2030, about 30% of the US cars will be electric. I think that once all these cars become cheap enough, like they have already, the fact that we don't get cheap electric cars here in the US is the tariffs that we impose to the Chinese. BYD, I know they're in Europe. I've seen their cars. Not very impressed, to be honest. But $8,000-9,000 car, you can buy under $10,000 an electric car in Europe. The only reason we don't have them here is the tariffs. 100% we have tariffs to Chinese electric cars to save American brands like Tesla. But once we get into that equilibrium where capacity of batteries has improved, prices have dropped, charging stations are everywhere, and charging is becoming faster and faster, and everybody has an electric car, I think what's going to happen is what happened with the watches. And you're going to get that electric car for your daily driver because it makes sense. I synchronize my mechanical watch based on what I see on my phone because I know that's the accurate and this is wrong. And this stops all the time, and this has issues, this needs service, and this needs many things. But it's gonna be like the cars we have now from the 60s, like a Mustang 1969. Mustang, I always loved that car. All the cars, especially the big ones, like V8s, that gonna get, I think there's only like 3-4 cars right now in the industry that have a V8. It's gonna come to a point where we all gonna want to have at least one gas-powered car, because humans are not rational. Humans are emotional creatures. And we like things because of the way they make us feel, not because they make sense. And you see that in everything that we talk about this channel, even credit cards. I talked about many times. How many of you do you actually use your platinum or your gold the way it's supposed to? And you really get all the benefits. Are you traveling first class, business class, and you travel 5, 6 times, 10 times, over 10 times a year? Preferably internationally? No. But you still want it. I think electric cars are here to stay, but gas cars are not going to go anywhere. They're going to get reduced, but they're going to be here. They're going to get higher end because they're going to be talking to your emotions. They're going to be more expensive. They're going to be more expensive to maintain. They won't make a lot of sense, but they're going to make you tickle in your heart. And I think that's worth some money. But let me know what you think, guys. Are you pro EV? Are you pro gas cars? Both? Thank you so much for watching. Till the next one. Ciao.